Welcome to Activate Your Introvert, the weekly radio show to uncover and unlock the entrepreneurial skills in your business. In this week's show, it's another anniversary celebration. Activate Your Introvert is nearly a year old, so we're meeting a previous guest and discussing what Claire Haynes has learned about introversion in the last year. Also, getting quieter people to speak up in meetings. An introvert myth of the week. Introverts can't make good leaders. But just before speaking to Claire, an idea to help you manage the introverts in your team. I often speak about the importance of hold back, of getting the louder people to give a bit of space for the internally processing introverts in the team. One simple trick to do that is what I call lining up. And it goes a bit like this. So you want Fred, let's say, to say something in the meeting. So ask the question. In a moment, Fred, I'm going to ask you about XYZ because I know that, and pay a small compliment. But just before that, and that's when you might then throw the open question out and ask and allow the extrovert to speak. But now, you can then go back to Fred, and you've given Fred, the internal processing introvert, a moment to think. So just give it a go. Do let me know what tip you'd like to activate the entrepreneurial skills in your business, or what introvert myth you'd like exposed. Drop me an email, give me a call, or add it as a comment to your review in the iTunes store. I'd love to hear from you. But first, it's time for this week's interview with Claire. Claire Haynes is a brilliant coach and facilitator. She puts the human into being at work and helps clients thrash out problems and resolve difficult conversations. Claire, you may remember, was a guest some months ago and was one of the most popular guests of the last year. And as we're coming up to the anniversary of Activate Your Introvert, I'm spending a couple of weeks going back and revisiting our most popular guests. So welcome, Claire.
Hi, John. Congratulations on the anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a year of some amazing guests. And as I said earlier, you were one of those. So thank you for both being interviewed the first time and coming back for some more.
You're welcome.
Remind the listeners, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an extrovert who has a strong appreciation for introversion, I think.
Okay. And what does that mean to you?
I found out I was an extrovert in my 20s, which is a long time ago. And that's when I started learning about introversion and extroversion. And then I worked with a lot of people, largely in finance or technical sectors, who happened to be introverts, and exploring with them their advantages and their strengths and the possibilities in their opportunities. And so I think I gained an appreciation for both, but an awareness of how the advantages of introversion are. The fact that there are a lot of misconceptions around introversion and the strengths that introverts have.
That's interesting. So you must be jealous of us introverts then.
I am, and I think that in some ways, and I think that I try to embrace the learning of what I can take away to be more or operate in a more introverted fashion, I think.
Oh, I like that. So you mentioned a moment ago the strengths of introverts. What do you see the biggest one or two of those being?
I've been working with someone recently who we were talking about their listening as their superpower. The fact that a lot of their strengths and their successes had, if you look back in their career, had come from very much from their powerful listening ability, but the fact that it was hidden and they never recognized it, they never had the confidence from it. For me, introverts have a real strength in being able to sit back and think and analyze and take in information almost in a sage-like fashion before stating an opinion. And I think that's really important and really valuable in a lot of forums about the timing. And introverts sometimes have a whiz ability to just know that timing really well.
Sounds good to me. I think I'll go and apply for to be one of those as well then. A lot's happened in the last year since we started this show. I mean, I guess a year ago, none of us would have thought of all getting dressed up like bank robbers before popping down to the shops or anything else. What's changed for you in business in the last year?
Oh gosh, I think so much has changed. Obviously, going online in life and in business, what I've noticed in the changes is that whatever your circumstance, it has been a massive change for everybody. And it's really important to listen, and it's really important to make allowances, and it's really important to listen for what people need to say, because they may not feel they can express themselves fully in the first instance. And I think, ironically, the thing about masks is that we might notice people's eye movements more to notice whether someone's smiling behind a mask. Or I've got myself thinking, can they tell that I'm smiling? Is my voice elevated enough? Is my pitch enough that they can tell that when I'm thanking them for customer service or issuing someone a compliment, can they tell that that's as upbeat and well-intentioned as it is, because they can't see my face. They can't see half my face.
I've found that as well. And suddenly I'll say something, in a pleasant way to somebody in the shop, and I suddenly think, oh, if they could see my face, they'd see I was smiling, and then they'd know it was humorous. And you suddenly, not only do you have to reevaluate, as you said, the look in your eyes and the tone of your voice, but sometimes what you actually say as well.
Absolutely. And I think there comes a lot of patience and generosity of spirit along with that. And we've heard a lot about kindness. We've heard a lot about mental health or anxiety this year. And I think they all go hand in hand, that having patience and listening to people and giving people time and allowing for miscommunication and being brave enough to revisit it and go back over it. I think those things have all been really important this year, and I hope we'll be better because of it.
Is there anything you would have done differently a year ago had you known what was coming up?
I think I would have made more allowances for myself, actually. I think there are some things when, let's say, although I'm an extrovert, if I kind of go within myself and have that quiet and have that thinking rather than thinking I need to react to something quickly, there's a lot to be said for generosity to yourself and not meeting other people's expectations. So there might be someone down the street, or there might be someone in your business that their experiences have been completely different to yours. And sometimes you have to just sit with it and take the time and allow things just to rest before you react to something. Often introverts are better than extroverts at that. And I think that's something that, had I known what was coming with this year, I would have definitely looked to think, what will strengthen my mental spirit in what's coming up? And I think those are a couple of the things that are relevant.
Interesting. And so, as you say, you've in a way, you've already learnt a couple of really good lessons about introversion, in a sense, I guess, because you're already connecting what you've learned with introverts. Is there anything else you've learned more about this distinction between introvert and extrovert in the last year that you're putting into practice now?
Maybe yes, in terms of events, in terms of online, and noticing more subtly what works for some online as opposed to in the room, and how we can make things more accessible for people, whoever they are and whatever their preferences are. I think that's really important. And I quite like the fact that we're learning not to make assumptions about how sociable somebody wants to be, and the fact that if everyone's been drawn to, a lot of people have had to work from home, or if people have not been able to work at all in their environment, that being sociable and having that social connection, having connection with people, does not mean having a party atmosphere and having a lot of noise. That connection means more than what we assume goes along with extroversion, if you like. Connection is really important.
I look back and I go, we all need more social connection, perhaps, than we thought we did.
Yeah, maybe. And also addressing our own knowledge or our self-awareness, perhaps, of what is it that we need. I think this year I've really questioned my needs and other people's needs, and that it would be good for us all to really have a better understanding of what works for you as an individual, and then being able to ask for it so that work and home, I suppose, it works better for whatever you need.
Yeah, good point. Claire, like all great discussions, we're running out. So in fact, we've run out of time. So thank you very, very much. But just before you go, if any of the listeners want to get back in touch with you, how would they do that?
The website is wildfireatwork.co.uk, and they can contact me through there.
Thank you very much. And it's great to see you. And perhaps we'll see you for the second birthday as well.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you. And now it's time for Introvert Myth of the Week. Those crazy stories that I hear and you hear, but some people actually believe. Introverts don't make good leaders. I often discuss this myth when delivering keynote presentations, and it's poignant this week. Did you know this is a birthday week for Windows? Windows 1. Happy birthday, 35. Sorry, I'll try that again. Introvert myth of the week. Introverts don't make good leaders. I often discuss this myth when delivering keynote presentations, and it's poignant this week. Did you know it's not just Activate Your Introvert's birthday? It's birthday week for Windows 1. So happy 35th birthday, Windows. What's the link? I think you'd have to agree that Microsoft has become a successful global business, and so probably has or had a great leader. Bill Gates is the name that comes to mind, and he is an introvert. So I think we can immediately chuck the myth in the bin. But more to the point, what is this sad indictment of Western business society that suggests extroverts are the good leaders? Now, granted, occasionally a leader may need to speak off the cuff and give public briefings, which introverts may not be so comfortable with, but they can learn that skill. Isn't leadership also, though, about having a vision, sharing that vision, inspiring staff to drive towards that vision, all of which is just as possible by introverts as extroverts? And then how about the other one? How about helping staff to grow? Doesn't a great leader create great leaders? Sometimes that may mean allowing others to be in the limelight instead. And I suspect an introvert may actually be better at that. Thank you for listening to Activate Your Introvert, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. I'd love to see your reviews on the iTunes store. Thank you once again, and catch up with you next week.